At 15, I tried calling CPS after my mom's husband hit me. She told me to suck it up, and then they kicked me out. Years later, I inherited $2 million and watched karma destroy them. When they begged for help, I gave silence. Hey Reddit, I never thought I'd be the guy writing one of these, but here we are. Let's just say when your mom remarries a control freak and his golden boy son, life turns into a long game of survival. I learned early that sometimes family isn't who raises you, it's who doesn't ruin you. This is the story of how I got kicked out, built my own life from scratch, and watched karma do its job better than I ever could. I was 14 when my mom decided we needed a fresh start. Her version of that apparently meant marrying a guy named Tom, a man with a haircut so precise it probably came with an instruction manual. My dad had passed away when I was 12, so for 2 years it had just been the two of us. Peaceful, quiet, predictable. Then Tom showed up. At first he acted charming, helped with groceries, told cheesy jokes, called me champ. I gave him a chance. But a few months after he moved in, the nice guy mask started slipping. He went from, "How's school, buddy?" to, "You need to toughen up, son, faster than you could microwave leftovers." And then came Carl, Tom's 17-year-old masterpiece. If you've ever seen one of those high school movies with a cool guy who lives off protein shakes, girls' attention, and his dad's approval, that was Carl. Blonde hair, smug grin, varsity jacket, like he came prepackaged straight out of a discount teen drama. The moment he walked in, he sized me up like I was some background character in his show. "Yo, little man," he said on day one, slapping me on the shoulder like we'd been boys forever. "Don't touch my stuff, all right?" Cool? He didn't have to worry. The guy's stuff was just cologne, gym gear, and a rotation of girls texting him heart emojis 24/7. Every night, the house turned into his stage. He'd be in his room blasting music so loud my window shook, laughing into the phone like, "Yeah, babe, I know, I'm trouble." But I once heard him bragging that 3 girls accidentally kissed him in the same week. I didn't even know that was physically possible. But Carl could make failing look impressive. Tom, of course, loved it. "That's my boy," he'd say, all proud. "Gets it from his old man." Meanwhile, if I left a single glass in the sink, suddenly I was disrespecting the household. If I got an A- instead of an A, "You're slipping, Alex." Carl never settled for less. Yeah, Carl also never settled for working brains or basic hygiene. But I didn't mention that part. Mom pretended everything was fine, like we were one big happy sitcom family. Every time Tom took over the living room with his alpha speeches about hard work and respect, she'd smile and nod like she was hypnotized. I guess she liked the idea of a real man running things again. One night, I walked in from school to find Carl sitting at the kitchen table with Tom, laughing about some girl who fell for his charm. Tom noticed me. "Hey, champ, maybe you can learn something from Carl here. Kid knows how to talk to people, make friends, handle himself. You should take notes." Carl smirked at me. "Yeah, little man. You gotta loosen up. Try not to look like you're allergic to fun." I stared at him for a second. "You mean the kind of fun that gets you suspended?" He blinked. Tom frowned. Carl laughed it off, but Tom didn't find it funny. "Watch your tone," he said. "You could use some of Carl's confidence. Maybe then you'd stop hiding behind those books." I wanted to tell him that reading didn't make me weak. It made me smarter than both of them combined. But I kept it in. Mom walked in right then with that tight smile she used whenever she could sense the air getting tense. "Boys, don't start," she said, like it was me who caused problems. From then on, it was like walking through a minefield. Tom had an opinion about everything I did. The way I sat, the way I spoke, the way I ate. If I disagreed, I was being disrespectful. If I stayed quiet, I was passive-aggressive. There was no winning. One afternoon, I caught Carl in my room, using my laptop to message some girl. When I called him out, he smirked. "Relax, little man. Just borrowing. Not like you have any friends to text anyway." I told him to get out, and he leaned close, grinning. "What are you gonna do? Cry to mommy?" Tom must have heard the argument because he showed up minutes later. Didn't even ask what happened. Just told me to show respect to Carl. Respect. For the guy who thought deodorant was optional. I stared at the ceiling, realizing how different things were before all this. When it was just me and Mom, life wasn't perfect, but at least it was peaceful. Now it felt like I was living in someone else's story, one where I was just the extra in the background. I told myself it wouldn't last forever. I just had to wait. Wait, study, save, and eventually walk out of that house on my own terms. Because if there was one thing I was sure of, even at 14, it wasn't their house that made me miserable. It was them. A year later, things somehow got worse. One morning at breakfast, Mom dropped the big news with this overly cheerful grin. Tom and I have something exciting to share, she said, holding his hand like she was announcing a royal wedding. Tom puffed up his chest. We're having a baby. His name will be Nathan. Carl almost spit out his cereal laughing. Great, another mouth to feed, he said, and everyone laughed except me. Mom's eyes landed on me. You're going to be a big brother, she said, like it was supposed to fix everything. Cool, I muttered. I didn't care either way. I already felt like a guest in my own house. Now I was about to be evicted emotionally and physically. 2 weeks later, Tom proved me right. He walked into my room, looking around like a landlord inspecting a rental. So, about this space, he started. We're turning it into the nursery. You'll move into the guest room. I just stared at him. You're taking my room? He shrugged. You'll manage. Smaller room builds character. That was Tom, always turning disrespect into life lessons. The guest room was tiny, stuffed with storage boxes, and a bed that felt like a punishment. But Mom said it was only temporary. Temporary became permanent within a week. From then on, Tom couldn't shut up about Carl. Look at Carl, he'd say during dinner. Captain of his team, confident, social. You could learn from him. I'm sure he will be the baby's favorite. Then came the line that still burns in my memory. Don't end up like your dad. He didn't have what it took. I dropped my fork. What did you just say? He smirked. I said your father? Yeah, I heard you. I cut him off. At least my dad didn't need another woman's money to feel important. That got him. His face went red, jaw tight. Mom froze, like she wasn't sure who to side with. Carl laughed under his breath. Tom leaned in, voice low. You watch it, boy. You've got no idea what real men go through. I leaned back. If you're the example, I think I'll pass. For a moment, I thought he might actually hit me then. He didn't. He just gave me that look, like I was a bug he couldn't crush yet. But a few days later, he found an excuse. It started over something small, as usual. I was doing homework at the table when he walked in, making one of his little jabs about how I was wasting time studying instead of learning how to handle real life. Then he mentioned my dad again, said he was soft and weak, which was ironic coming from a guy who flinched when the toaster popped. I stood up. You don't talk about him. Tom smirked. Relax, son. I'm just saying, I'm not your son, I snapped. He stepped closer, trying to tower over me. Don't talk back to me in my house. And before I could even react, he punched me in the stomach. It wasn't a hard cinematic hit, just one solid shot that knocked the air out of me. Pain exploded through my chest, and I folded over, gasping. He stood there like nothing happened. Learn some respect, he said, and walked off. Mom was in the other room. She didn't say a word. That night, I locked myself in the guest room and stared at my phone. My hands were shaking. I looked up the CPS number. I was 15, old enough to know this wasn't normal. I dialed. I didn't even get halfway through the call before Mom burst in. What are you doing? She yelled, grabbing the phone out of my hand. What does it look like? He hit me. She went pale for half a second, then full meltdown mode. Are you trying to destroy my marriage? Are you happy now? You just can't stand seeing me happy. Happy? I laughed bitterly. He punched me in your kitchen. Her eyes welled up. Alex, please. He's under stress. You have to understand. No, you have to understand. He's abusive. She shook her head, tears running down her face. You need to suck it up. For me. We're finally stable. Don't ruin this. I stared at her, disbelief turning into anger. You're choosing him over me. If you can't respect this family, she said, clutching my phone tighter, maybe you shouldn't be here at all. That hit harder than Tom's punch. I wanted to walk out right then, but where would I go? I didn't have a car, no job, and barely any friends I could call family. I swallowed the words sitting in my throat, sat back down, and said nothing. She sniffed and handed me my phone back, but the message was clear. One wrong move and I was gone. So I stopped talking, stopped fighting. I stayed out of Tom's way and focused on getting through school. Tom went back to acting like nothing happened. He'd make little comments every now and then. You still sore from being lazy? And Carl would snicker. They both saw me as weak, but I wasn't. I was waiting. Every insult, every fake smile, every man-up speech, it all went into a mental box marked fuel. When you grow up with people who break you down daily, you learn not to explode. You learn to prepare. I wasn't scared of Tom anymore. I was just counting the days until I could walk out of his house for good. And that's when I realized something I'd never said out loud before. I wasn't living a teenage life anymore. I was surviving it. By the time I turned 18, I'd stopped thinking of that house as home. It was just a holding cell, until I had enough cash to buy my freedom. I'd been working part-time at a small hardware store for almost a year, saving every dollar I could. Every extra shift meant one step closer to leaving. The final straw came a few weeks before my high school graduation. Tom and Mom were heading out of town for the weekend. Some marriage retreat. Carl was supposed to stay and keep an eye on the house. Translation: free party. The second their car left the driveway, Carl sent out invites like he was hosting Coachella. By nightfall, the place was packed with strangers, loud music, laughter, spilled drinks, and the smell of cheap perfume everywhere. I tried to ignore it, locked in my room finishing my final project for school. It was a big one, worth half my grade. Around midnight, I stepped out to grab water, and I swear, the house looked like a landfill. People dancing on tables, beer cans everywhere, someone writing on the walls with a marker. Carl was in the middle of it, shirt half open, bragging about being the man of the house. I yelled over the noise, "Carl, what the hell is this?" He turned, grinning like he was on stage. "Relax, little man. Have some fun for once. You're trashing the place. Lighten up. You'll live." I went back to the basement where noise was less, locked the door, and tried to focus. Around 2 a.m., I finally gave up and went to sleep. When I woke up, the party was over, but the damage wasn't. I went back to my room. My door was open, the handle was broken. My room looked like a hurricane had hit it. My project, the one I'd spent weeks on, was smashed, papers torn, coffee spilled all over it. Someone had stepped on my laptop. My posters were ripped off the walls. I just stood there, frozen. Then I saw Carl asleep on the couch downstairs, snoring like a baby who didn't cause absolute chaos 5 hours ago. I walked over and kicked the coffee table hard enough to jolt him awake. He blinked up at me, smirking. "What's your problem?" "My project's destroyed, you idiot." He stretched lazily. "Oh yeah, people were in your room. Should have locked it, little man." "I did." He laughed. "Guess your lock sucks." Something inside me snapped. For years, I'd swallowed every insult, every fake lecture from Tom, every eye roll from Mom. But this was mine. My work. The one thing I'd built for myself. I grabbed him by the collar. "You think this is funny?" He grinned, that smug, perfect Carl grin. "You're just mad no one actually likes you. You hide behind school and think you're better than everyone. Guess what? Nobody cares about you, Alex. You're just—" That's when I punched him. Right in the mouth. He fell backward, crashing into the coffee table. For a second, the room went quiet except for his shocked gasp. Blood trickled from his lip. "You little psycho!" he shouted, scrambling to his feet. "You're dead!" He lunged, but I shoved him back. "Try me, Carl! You've been running your mouth for years. Let's settle it." He didn't. He just grabbed his phone and stormed upstairs. I didn't care. I stood there shaking, not from fear but from the weight of finally doing what I should have done years ago. Tom and Mom came back that evening. Carl had clearly gotten to them first. They walked in furious, like they'd rehearsed it. Tom pointed at me the second he saw me. "What did you do to my son?" "Your son trashed my room and my school project," I said flatly. "So yeah, I hit him. Once." Tom's eyes narrowed. "Violence, huh? That's who you are now?" I almost laughed. "No, that's who you are. Guess I learned from the best." He stepped closer. "Don't get smart with me. You're done here. You hear me? Pack your things. You're not welcome in my house." My mom stood behind him, arms crossed, eyes on the floor. "Mom?" I said. "Nothing." "Seriously? You're just gonna let him—" She whispered. "Alex, please don't make this harder." That was it. No defense. No hesitation. Just like before. I went to my room, what was left of it, and packed what I could. My clothes, a few books, my phone charger, what was left of my savings. I didn't say another word to either of them. As I zipped my bag, I looked around one last time. The walls, the smell, the broken project, it all felt like proof that I'd never actually belonged there. I walked out without saying goodbye. The night air hit different. Cold, but clean. For the first time, I could breathe without waiting for someone to yell at me. A few weeks later, I still graduated by the skin of my teeth. No ceremony, no family, just me picking up the diploma and walking home. I didn't know where I'd go yet, but it didn't matter. Anywhere was better than that place. When I reached the end of the street, I turned around and looked at the house. Lights still on, Tom probably lecturing, Carl probably milking his fake victim act, Mom probably nodding along. I smirked. "Congratulations, Tom," I muttered. "You finally got your perfect family." And with that, I kept walking. Angry, hurt, but also free for the first time in my life. I didn't have a plan, just a backpack, a couple hundred in cash and the rest sitting in my account, and a head full of noise. I crashed at a friend's place for a week until I found a shoebox apartment. It wasn't much, but it was mine. For once, no one could barge in. No one could yell. No one could tell me how to breathe. The silence felt strange, almost too quiet, but I started getting used to it. My job at the hardware store became my safe zone. The manager, Terry, was this older guy in his 40s, laid back, built like someone who'd actually use tools instead of just talking about them. First day I met him, he looked me over and said, "You know how to show up on time and not act like an idiot? Congrats, you're hired." I liked the guy instantly. Work was simple. Terry treated me like an equal, not a kid. We'd joke around on slow days, and he'd drop little life lessons in between. Stuff like, don't waste energy proving yourself to people who don't want to see it, or silence can humiliate a loud idiot faster than yelling ever could. Meanwhile, Tom and Carl couldn't stand that I'd cut them off. They started texting me constantly. Snide messages about how real men don't run away, or how you'll come crawling back once life hits you. Sometimes they'd send laughing emojis, pretending they were above it all. I blocked them, unblocked, then blocked again. It was like swatting flies. Pointless, but necessary. Mom called twice in the first month, both times starting with, "Tom just wants to talk," and ending with, "You should apologize." I hung up both times. By the third week, I started sleeping better. Then Carl showed up. It was a Tuesday morning. I was restocking paint cans when I heard a voice behind me, the kind of smug tone I'd recognize anywhere. "Yo, little man, didn't think I'd find you slumming it here?" I froze, slowly turned. There he was. Same stupid grin, sunglasses indoors, acting like he owned the place. "Wow," I said. "You actually found a job that lets you walk in circles doing nothing." He smirked. "You got jokes now. Guess living alone made you brave." I set down the box I was holding. "What do you want, Carl?" He leaned on a shelf. "Dad says you owe him an apology. Your mom, too. You punched me, remember? Shouldn't be that hard to say sorry." I laughed. "You trashed my room and my project, and I owe you an apology? You've got the brain capacity of a goldfish." His grin dropped. "Watch it. I could still press charges for that little stunt." "Go ahead," I said. "Tell the cops your little brother beat you up. I'm sure they'll take it real seriously." That's when he got closer, lowering his voice. "Careful, Alex. I could make your life hard. One call to the cops, and you'll be the violent dropout living in a dump." I stepped forward, jaw tight. "Say that again." He smirked, clearly enjoying himself. "You heard me." I clenched my fists. I was this close to swinging again. But before I could, a shadow moved beside me. Terry. He stepped between us, calm but solid. "Something wrong here?" Carl looked him up and down. "This is between me and him." Terry didn't blink. "Not anymore, it's not. You need to leave." Carl scoffed. "You can't kick me out. I'm not doing anything." "Now you are," Terry said flatly. "You're trespassing and bothering my employee. Doors that way." Carl laughed like it was a joke, but Terry didn't move. The guy had that quiet authority that makes loud people shut up. Carl's smirk faded first. "Whatever, man. Keep your loser buddy. He'll be back home soon when life slaps him." He turned to leave, muttering something about ungrateful trash. Terry waited until he was gone, then looked at me. "That the idiot who's been texting you?" "Yeah," I said, rubbing my face. "That's the family clown." Terry chuckled. "He's got that insecure rich kid energy. Thinks noise equals power." I actually laughed for the first time in weeks. "You nailed it. Next time he shows up, call me," Terry said. "I'll handle it. Nobody messes with my crew." I nodded, half shocked, half grateful. Nobody had ever stepped in for me before. Not mom, not teachers, definitely not Tom. But this guy? He barely knew me and still had my back. That night, I sat in my apartment, replaying it in my head. For once, I hadn't been blamed. I hadn't been told to apologize or suck it up. Someone just saw the truth and did something about it. It hit me how new that feeling was, being defended instead of attacked. I'd traded chaos for silence, and silence was winning by a landslide. Years passed like that. Just me, work, and peace. My life finally had rhythm. It wasn't glamorous, but it was mine. Terry kept things chill at work. The guy treated me like family, always throwing small bits of wisdom my way. "You're doing it right," he'd say. "You build slow, and nobody can take it from you." For once, I actually believed that. Then, one night after a long shift, my phone buzzed with a number I didn't recognize. I answered without thinking. "Alex?" My mom's voice. I hadn't heard it in years. It immediately made my stomach twist. "What do you need?" I asked. Straight to the point. She sighed like she was already tired of me. "Tom had a health scare. Some minor heart thing. He's fine now." I didn't respond. She continued. "He's redoing his will, just to be safe. He wanted me to tell you that. Well, he's leaving the bulk of it to Carl and the baby. I stayed quiet. It's not personal, she said quickly. He just thinks it makes sense. They're his blood. Yeah, I said, voice flat. Makes sense. Wouldn't want me to ruin the pattern of favoritism. Alex, don't start. I'm not, I interrupted. Just saying, consistency's important. She didn't like that. I could hear her exhale sharply. You're being petty. You left the family, remember? You chose this distance? I almost laughed. You mean the distance you told me to take? Silence. Anyway, she said, her tone softening fake sweet. You could still come visit sometime. Tom thinks. I hung up. That night I tried pretending it didn't bother me. It was just money, right? I had a job, a roof, peace, but deep down it still stung. It wasn't about the inheritance, it was about what it meant. Even after everything, I was still the outsider. Still not part of their family. I tried to brush it off and move on, but life had other plans. 2 weeks later, I got another unexpected call. This one from a man named Gregory Blake, a lawyer. His tone was professional but oddly gentle. Am I speaking with Alex Carter? He asked. Yeah. Who's this? I'm calling regarding the estate of Rose Lewis. I froze. My great aunt? Yes. I'm sorry to inform you she passed away recently. I blinked. I hadn't seen Aunt Rose since I was maybe 12. She was my dad's aunt, an old lady who always smelled like lavender and gave me butterscotch candies. I used to visit her sometimes after my dad died, helped her carry groceries, fix small things around her place. Eventually, Tom convinced Mom to stop those visits, said I was wasting time. Gregory continued, Your great aunt named you the sole beneficiary of her estate. I sat down. Beneficiary? Of what exactly? He hesitated, then said it like he was reading from a script. The estate includes her home, several investments, and a trust valued at approximately $2 million. I thought I misheard. Did you say $2 million? Yes, Mr. Carter. She also left a personal letter for you. Would you like me to read the contents or send it? I swallowed. Read it. He paused, then spoke softly. Dear Alex, you probably don't remember much about the time you spent helping me, but I do. You were kind when the world wasn't kind to you. You carried yourself with quiet strength, and I always saw you as the son I never had. I never had children, and I want you to have what I built. You deserve happiness after how hard life has been on you. Love, Aunt Roses. For a second, I couldn't say anything. The room went silent, just my heartbeat echoing in my ears. Gregory spoke again. She wanted this handled quickly. I can set an appointment for you to sign the documents. Yeah, I said quietly. Yeah, let's do that. After the call ended, I just sat there staring at the wall. My brain couldn't catch up. I wasn't crying or laughing or anything. Just still. This woman I barely knew had done more for me than my own family ever did. She noticed me, saw my worth, without needing to be asked. A week later, I met with Gregory at his office downtown. Everything was real. The accounts, the documents, the property. He walked me through each paper carefully, explaining it all like I was already someone responsible. When it was over, he shook my hand and said, Your aunt spoke highly of you. Not many people earn that kind of trust. I thanked him and walked out with the weirdest mix of shock and peace. The first thing I did wasn't buy anything fancy. I just took the bus home, sat in my tiny apartment, and let it sink in. $2 million. I stared at my old cracked phone, my hand trembling. I could already hear Tom's voice if he found out. Carl's smug tone, my mother's guilt-tripping sighs. But this wasn't for them. This was for me. That night, I opened a notebook and started planning. How to invest it, how to secure it, how to build something that no one could touch. For once, I wasn't angry. I wasn't bitter. I just felt calm. Because someone finally saw what they never did. And she didn't even need to call herself family to prove it. After that day, everything shifted. I wasn't rich overnight, I was careful. I hired a financial advisor, split the money into different accounts, and bought a small, clean house in a quiet area. Nothing flashy, just safe. Aunt Rose had worked her whole life to earn it. I wasn't going to blow it on cars and ego trips like Carl would have. Terry was the only one I told. When I mentioned the inheritance, he just grinned and said, Good. Means you can finally breathe. Don't let idiots sniff it out. I laughed. Trust me, they won't. But life's funny that way. Secrets never stay buried. It started with a random text from Mom. Hey, honey, how are you? We miss you. Hope life's treating you well? That was weird already. The last time she texted me, she told me to apologize to Tom for disrespecting the family. I didn't answer. A few days later, Tom's been so sick lately. It's been really hard. Call me when you can, okay? Then Carl messaged me out of nowhere. Yo, heard you got some kind of money. Guess you're not broke anymore. Good for you, little man. I froze. There it was. Someone had talked. I didn't know who leaked it. Maybe the lawyer's office, maybe some distant relative. But the minute that info reached them, the floodgates opened. The next week was chaos. Calls, texts, voicemails, Mom crying, Tom trying to sound fatherly, Carl pretending to be concerned. Alex, we're just proud of you, Mom said in one voicemail. But you have to understand, your family's been struggling. Tom's medical bills, Carl's school loans. Maybe you can help us a little. Then Tom's message came through, his voice smug and heavy with fake warmth. You know, son, real men take care of their family when they can. It's your turn to give back. I didn't reply. 2 days later, Carl called. Come on, bro. Just a little help, like 1 million. That's nothing to you now, right? We're family. Family? I said flatly. You mean the same family that threw me out? He chuckled nervously. Come on, don't hold grudges. You're doing great, we're proud of you. Let's all move on. Sure, I said. You move on with your own wallet. Then I hung up. That's when Mom called again. Her tone different, sharper, colder. You're being selfish, Alex. You wouldn't even have that money if it weren't for your father's side. Technically, that makes it mine too. I blinked. You're serious? It's only fair, she said, voice trembling with fake tears. You know how hard things have been. 1 million would fix everything. You'd still have plenty left. I almost laughed. Mom, I earned peace after 18 years of hell. You don't get a refund. Her tone snapped. You're ungrateful. I raised you. Without me, you'd have nothing. Without you, I said, I'd have peace a lot sooner. That ended the call. A week later, things escalated. A detective called first, said someone had filed a report claiming I'd gotten my inheritance through fraud. He asked if I could come down to the station with documentation to clear it up. I went, handed over every official paper. Aunt Rose's will, the trust transfer, the lawyer's statement. They looked it all over and apologized for the trouble. They explained that someone had filed an anonymous tip claiming the money was suspicious. They needed to verify documentation. Before leaving, one of them said, We get these false tips sometimes, usually from family disputes. I smirked. Yeah, that tracks. As soon as I left, I called the lawyer, told him what happened. He confirmed my suspicion. Mom and Tom had both called his office earlier, demanding clarification about my inheritance. When they didn't get the answers they wanted, they must have tried the legal scare tactic. That was it for me. The last straw. I wrote one group text and sent it to all of them. You've taken enough from me. Time, peace, childhood. You won't take another cent. Don't contact me again. Not one call, not one text, not one visit. If you do, it'll go through the police. Goodbye. Then I blocked them all. That night, sitting on my porch, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Relief mixed with a little sadness. Cutting people off isn't fun, even when they deserve it. But I knew this time, it had to be permanent. They didn't love me. They loved what they could get. Aunt Rose's money didn't change me. It just showed me who they really were all along. Leeches disguised as family. Terry came by the next day, dropping off a burger and a grin. You look lighter, he said. What happened? I shrugged. Took out the trash. He laughed. Good. Trash stinks when you let it pile up. And that's exactly what I'd done. Finally cleared the last pile of it from my life. Work with Terry was good. He trusted me with more responsibility. Inventory, scheduling, even training the new hires. The guy treated me like family in the way my real one never did. He'd joke, Man, you've got the patience of a saint. Or maybe just someone who's been through hell already. I'd laugh because he wasn't wrong. Every now and then, I'd think about Nathan, the youngest. He'd be what, 5 now? I hoped the kid was okay. He didn't ask for any of this. The rest of them, though? I never thought about them. Not until I started hearing things. One of our regular customers, an old neighbor from back in the day, mentioned it casually. Hey, you heard about your stepdad? Poor guy had to retire early. His health's gone downhill bad. I heard they're living off savings now. I just nodded. Yeah? Shame. Inside, I didn't feel much of anything. The guy built his life on control and money. Now both were gone. Then came the real kicker. Carl. Apparently, Mr. Future Entrepreneur had tried scamming one of his girlfriends into investing in a fake crypto venture. The problem? Her dad was a shark lawyer. Now Carl was getting slapped with lawsuits left and right. Word spread that his car got repossessed, and he was sleeping on his buddy's couch. I couldn't help but smirk when I heard that. Karma doesn't always come fast, but it always shows up. Things were quiet again, until one late afternoon, there was a knock at my door. I wasn't expecting anyone, and for some reason, my gut already knew it wasn't good. When I opened it, I froze. My mom stood there, hair messy, eyes red from crying. She looked tired, older. Next to her was Nathan, holding her hand. The kid looked up at me, shy and confused. Alex, she said softly, please, can we come in? I hesitated. Every instinct screamed to close the door, but seeing Nathan made me move aside. 5 minutes, I said. They stepped in. My mom glanced around the living room like she was inspecting it, the same way she used to when she'd find something to criticize. You've done well, she said quietly. I crossed my arms. What do you want, Mom? She started with small talk, asking how I was, how work was going. I just stared at her until she finally dropped the act. It's Tom, she said. He's not doing well. His health's worse. He's angry all the time and he hit me. Nathan looked down immediately. She kept talking. He says it's my fault because I couldn't convince you to help. We're barely getting by, Alex. I'm scared of him. Please, just a little money to keep him quiet. For Nathan's sake. I stayed silent for a moment, then said flatly, if he really hit you, we should call the police. I'll help you file a report. Her face changed instantly. The tears stopped. You'd really do that to your own stepfather? You just said he hit you. He's sick, Alex. You don't understand. I just need to calm him down. By paying him off? I asked. She snapped, you're so cold. You're my son. I came here because I thought you'd care. I do care, I said. That's why I won't give you money for lies. Her voice rose. Lies? You think I'd make that up? Yeah, I said, staring right at her. Because you did it before. You covered for him when he punched me. Remember that? Told me to suck it up for your happiness? Now you're back with another story, because you ran out of people to manipulate. She blinked fast, trying to pull herself together, but her tone slipped. He's too weak to even lift anything, Alex. He couldn't hurt me if he tried. She stopped. Too late. I just nodded slowly. So he didn't hit you. Got it. Her face twisted. You think you're so smart, don't you? Acting better than us because you got lucky. Lucky? I said. Working after getting kicked out. Building everything from scratch. That's not luck, Mom. That's survival. She stepped closer, lowering her voice. You can't just erase your family. You'll regret this when I'm gone. I walked past her, opened the door, and held it open. You already left, Mom. You just didn't notice when you did. Nathan clung to her sleeve, unsure what to do. I knelt down, meeting his eyes. Hey, buddy, I said quietly. Take care of yourself, okay? Don't let them tell you what to be. You get to choose who you are. He nodded slowly, confused but listening. I looked up at her one last time. If you actually care about him, don't turn him into another Carl. Don't repeat the same mistakes. Her lip trembled, but I could tell she hated hearing it from me. She muttered something under her breath, grabbed Nathan's hand, and walked out. I closed the door behind them. No yelling, no guilt, no hesitation this time. Just quiet. I sat on the couch for a while, listening to the hum of the AC. The weird thing was, I didn't feel angry anymore. Just done. Like closing the last chapter of a book I'd been forced to read for too long. They called it selfish when I walked away, I thought, watching the sun drop over the street. But maybe self-respect just looks selfish to people who live off your guilt. And that was it. No drama, no tears, just peace. Finally earned, finally mine. YouTube just dropped this new hype feature. If you're hooked on this story, smash that hype button. It tells YouTube this video deserves to blow up, and it keeps even crazier stories coming your way.